Thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it, if you felt it was useful. Now let's get into this. So, Canelo Alvarez. I mean, this guy fights being thrown around left, right and centre. You know, going back to the summer, we were hearing talk of, what was it, September 12th, he was to have a fight against potentially Callum Smith, potentially Jay Quigley, Torrio Johnson. The list just went on and on and on. Then last week, we get the announcement that the WBC have now ordered Avni flipping Yildirim versus Canelo for the vacant WBC title at 168 pounds, which is a terrible fight. The Zone have even come out and said that they don't want to put that fight on, or that they're not happy with the fight. Something worse to that effect, basically. So, what's next? Well, it's been announced today that Team Alvarez are now looking at fighting in November. And they fought in November before. They fought Kovalev last year in November. And the names being listed, potentially, Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders. This saga has been going on for the best part of a year now. Because going into 2020, even I think as far back as January, we were hearing that the two main contenders for the Canelo fight in May, had things been normal, would have been Callum Smith and would have been Billy Joe Saunders. Now, the Callum Smith thing kind of fell apart because apparently it was to do with money. They felt they were worth more, you know, a lot of kind of things like that. The Billy Joe one, obviously, that was set to go. Obviously, you know what happened, and then everything just stopped. It was all just put on the back burner. Then we get, you know, people saying, you know, okay, maybe Canelo versus Billy Joe in September, which, you know, is still a good fight. And Billy Joe says, well, 1 minute he says he was never offered it, then he says it wasn't enough time, then he says it wasn't enough money. So make it out what you will. But they're saying in November now, Callum Smith or Billy Joe, both are now in the firing line for the Canelo fight. Now, I think both of those guys are good opponents. You know, they're both a hell of a lot more competitive fights than Avni Yildirim. Let's not even think for 1 second that Avni Yildirim versus Canelo was a competitive fight. It's not. It's a mismatch. Canelo will just go straight through the guy. You know, they might, if they ever fight, he might carry him for a couple of rounds, but he's going straight through him. Whereas Billy Joe and Callum Smith, both are game. Both are top level fighters. Both will come to win. Both are way more skilled. Both of them would beat Avni Yildirim no problem. You know, one might do it more devastating than the other because I think Callum Smith's a bigger puncher than Billy Joe. But both guys are way more superior. They're way more credible than flipping Avni Yildirim. All right. Some people are saying that Billy Joe doesn't deserve it. You know, and with me, it's like I think Billy Joe would be more competitive than Callum Smith. Even though I think both guys would lose, I think that Callum Smith is just a bit too slow. You watch him against John Ryder, you see the mistakes he was doing against John Ryder, you see the success John Ryder had, you think Canelo Alvarez would be able to do that 10 times over. Whereas Billy Joe a lot more technical fighter, a bit more slick. You know, when he really is on his game against a top level opponent, we really see the best of Billy Joe. So I think it's a more competitive fight, the Billy Joe fight. I still think Canelo will beat both of them, but I think Billy Joe against Canelo is more competitive. But then there's me, and then there's like other fans as well who are saying the same. It's like, well, hang on a sec. Yes, we want to see Billy Joe versus Canelo, but Billy Joe has had his chances. You know, he's come out with all this, you know what, about, well, the money's not right, I've not had enough time, you know, what was it, 2 months isn't enough time, etc, etc. Some people, myself, kind of feel like, yeah, you've kind of blown it now. You know, you've had your opportunities, but you've just kind of thrown it back in his face. So why should he give you another opportunity? But then again, it's the selfish fan saying, I really want to see Canelo versus Billy Joe. In terms of the two, I think Billy Joe would be the most competitive. I don't know why. I just think that just from a style point of view, he could give Canelo more problems than a Callum Smith. But I think Canelo beats both of them. But these fights, make no mistake about it, either one of these fights I'm happy to see. I do not want to see Canelo Alvarez versus Avni Yildirim. That is a terrible fight. That fight is a mismatch. You know, it's so bad, even the IBO, who are pretty much a joke sanctioning body, coming out and, you know, knocking the fight, saying, well, WBC should be charged with murder if they allow this fight to happen. And in many ways they should, because it's a mismatch. So Callum Smith, Billy Joe, I'm happy with both those guys being mentioned. You know, Billy Joe, yeah, he's said some, you know, strange, bizarre things. You know, he's contradicted himself a bit. But does he deserve the fight? I wouldn't mind seeing it. I wouldn't mind seeing it. As I said, I still think Canelo beats Bo, but I think from a style point of view, I'd give Billy Joe a better shout than I would Callum Smith. Now, I could be wrong. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think we'll actually see any of these fights? Do you think we'll see Canelo out this year? Do you think we'll see him against Callum Smith or Billy Joe? Leave it in the comment section below. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, of course, people. Subscribe if you are new to the channel, of course. And as always, I will talk to you. Before I go, people, thank you for dropping by the channel. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed the video that you just saw. Remember, please like and share. It really, really helps me out. I do have Patreon as well. You can go over there. There's some podcasts up now. Go and have a listen if you like it. All well and good. Thanks a mil for all the support, people. I will talk to you.